Hey guys, it's Joe from PocketNow.com. In my last video, I showed you the hardware of the Samsung Galaxy S series phone from Sprint called the Epic 4G. And I just showed you hardware. I did that specifically for a reason, and that's so you wouldn't be dazzled by the software. So that's what we've got in today's video. Let's go right to it. Okay, so this is the home screen of the Samsung Epic 4G. What you're going to notice first and foremost is right after you boot up your phone, you're going to see this screen. You're not going to go through the typical Android setup process. Now, that Android setup process is the one where you have a little Android guy on the screen that says touch the Android to begin, and it sets up your Google accounts and Google services. You don't have that on this phone. Instead, you have your home screen. If you want to set up your Google services, you tap on one of the Google apps like the Market, which is right here on the main home screen or the center home screen, and that will ask you for your username and password. Very simple, very elegant, and it'll let you start using your phone right away. I kind of like this approach, and I think that other service providers, other carriers are going to start doing something like this. Let's get right into this. This is the TouchWiz UI. It's not the stock Android interface, as you can see. There are a couple things to show you. First of all, your app drawer is over on the side. And it kind of has this little tabbed display to show you that you are in your apps. And I'm actually in the third page. Now, you'll notice this is a side scroller rather than an up and down scroller. And it has these little dots at the top of the screen to show you which page you're on. It's kind of nice because you can say, oh, okay, I'm right here in the middle, I'm over on the side, and it's got this neat little elastic bounce to let you know this is as far as you can go. Back on the home screen, you'll notice those dots across the top again. There's 7 screens in this case, and moving between them is fairly easy. Using the dots, or accidentally tapping on the Google search box, or simply swiping across. Now, one thing that I've done is I have replaced the stock wallpaper with one of my favorites. This is beautiful, beautiful live weather wallpaper. What it comes with, and let me switch back to it really fast, is this really, really pretty Delicate Arch wallpaper. Now, Delicate Arch is in southern Utah. I'm in Utah, so it's kind of homey, but this is not a live wallpaper. This is just a static wallpaper, which is kind of unusual, seeing how we ran an article not long ago on how to get all of these beautiful Samsung live wallpapers from the Captivate and Vibrant over onto your Android-powered phone, including Dandelion Galaxy, this Luminous, Ocean Waves. They're just really cool. They're beautiful. Why didn't the phone come with them pre-installed in stock? Well, it's all about battery life, and I'll show you that in just a minute. For the meantime, we'll leave it right where it is. One other thing I'd like to mention, this back button, in fact, all of these buttons on the bottom are a bit finicky. You're going to have to tap at them a couple times, especially if they turn off before you're ready to press them. Now, I've made some modifications to keep these on a little bit longer because when the backlight goes off, you can't see them at all. Now, that's beautiful when looking at the blank screen, but not very user-friendly when trying to navigate on the device. We'll leave that as it is. Let's get right into the apps that come on the phone. Sprint Zone is the first one, and this is kind of an all-in-one everything I need to know about my Sprint account, including my account, how to find a store, and this I Need Help section, which is really cool. You'll notice up at the top, there's a diagnostic ongoing right now that's testing the voice and data connections, and it gives you all of this information right there on the phone, so you can give that to whoever the support technician is. Let's go back. You've got some Sprint news. What can you do with 4G? We'll talk about that in a minute, and some suggested apps, including what's already installed, phone tips and tricks, and some more stuff. So let's go back and look at what other apps are installed. First and foremost, ESPN and CNN. These you might think are apps, but they're not. They're just shortcuts to the mobile version of the website, which isn't a bad thing, but that means that anybody with an Android can put these shortcuts on their home screen and get that same effect. Over here, you've got one of Samsung's many really cool apps. It's a widget that sits on top of the TouchWiz UI, kind of like the HTC Sense widgets. This one is a Buddies widget, and let's see if we can find somebody that we want to put in here. We'll put in Anton because he's a nice guy. And we will put in, let's see, another picture down here. I've got way too many contacts in my phone, as you can tell. Let's put in Brandon. Now, you'll notice I've got kind of a Rolodex thing going on. It's very nice, very fluid, and I can see who this person is just at a glance. I can send them a text, I can call them, or using this edit button, I can remove them from this widget. Now, this only lets you change the person. It doesn't let you change the details of the person. I'd like to be able to go in and edit that person's details right from that screen. And you can see that the back button was being a bit finicky again. But we'll say done on that. So that's one of the cool widgets. Another widget, let me scroll all the way over to the other side. This is the Feeds and Updates widget, which ties in with the Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter feeds that you set up on the phone. And it's a scrollable widget, which isn't something you get from stock Android widgets. You only get those in the more advanced launchers, such as ADW Launcher, Launcher Pro, Sense UI, of course, and now TouchWiz. But this gives you everything that's going on in your social circle all at a glance, and you can tell the service that it's on. In this case, these are all Twitter, and there we passed to Facebook right there. So, kind of cool. There are a few others. This is a task manager widget that comes with the phone, and I'm kind of disappointed about that. Android does really good monitoring and managing all of the running apps. Here you can see I've got 5 things running: Voice Search Market, Gmail, Feeder, and Browser, and I can end them all. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, Android takes care of all of that memory management for you, and I think it does a pretty good job. I've never needed to have a task killer, if you will, on my Nexus 1. I don't think it's really necessary on the Samsung. I think it was just included because people were asking for it. So that having been said, let's look at some other widgets. These are the Samsung widgets that come with it. An AccuWeather clock. We've seen all of these on other Galaxy S style phones, so I'm just going to browse over them really quickly. Buddies Now, which I showed you, the calendar clock, Feeds and Updates, which I showed you, Program Monitor, which I just showed you, and the Yahoo Finance clock. So lots of cool ways to get information just kind of really quickly. And again, that back button is just a bit finicky for my likes. Now, let's go into Samsung apps. First and foremost, Sprint Football, because who doesn't like football? And for everyone else in the rest of the world, football for us is an oblong ball. It's not a soccer ball, so that's just what we call it in America. Sorry about the confusion. This, of course, is divided into Pro and College and gives you all kinds of stuff. You can set up your favorite team. It gives you scores and schedules, news, analytics, statistics, standings, team pages, Twitter, lots of cool stuff, including odds, so you can fuel your betting addiction right there, getting the odds. One thing that's interesting about this app and one of the other apps is it makes you update immediately on launch. Now, I don't know if that was just me or if they put kind of a shell of the app on the phone and then force it download the first time, but it was kind of a disappointing experience that I had to go through and get an update before I could even run my app. I would have liked to see an update happen in the background. One other thing, you can't see it because I've already preloaded the data on this. That little helmet right in the middle is the busy indicator. It's not the standard Android busy indicator, and it's kind of distracting, and I'd like things to be more consistent across the UI, and it's not. That having been said, it does what it's supposed to do. Let's skip Sprint Navigation for a minute and go into NASCAR. NASCAR does the same thing as the football app, and it preloads the update to the app, and then it brings you right in. Very similar to the football app. I've already selected my favorite driver. This is Tony Stewart, and I get all of these things related to him, point standings of him, along with his other drivers, or other drivers in the circuit, that is, and just a bunch of other data. Some videos. You know, we can go into details on these apps at some other time. Sprint Navigation we need to hit on. This is Sprint's version of Google Maps navigation, and it's kind of interesting. You'll notice again a non-standard busy indicator, but there is a nice progress bar to let you know that it's logging in. Now, why does it take that long? I don't know. If I'm looking for directions, I want to get them quickly and get on the road and go. I don't want to have to wait and wait and wait and wait while it's loading. I don't know why they do it. I think they need to improve that. Here we've got the basics. We can drive to a location. We can search for a location. We've got maps and traffic and share and more. Let's go ahead and look at maps and traffic. Went through to the wrong one. And in maps and traffic, this is where I am. Just very basic, very simple. It's from Telenav, Teleatlas, so it looks just like the maps that you're familiar with. You'll notice it's a bit slow in loading. Now we're going to go away from apps for just a minute and talk about Sprint's 3G and 4G. When I was doing my FCC broadband tests, Sprint 3G performed at right around 300, sometimes up to 400 kilobits per second. That's not all that great. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great. My T-Mobile at the same location is going to get me anywhere from 600 to 900 kilobits per second. But the thing that kills me is Sprint's latency. The amount of time that it takes for you to ask for something and get a response back on the internet is somewhere around the 500 to 600s on Sprint, where it's usually below 200 on T-Mobile, which is really where it should be. I'm kind of disappointed in that with Sprint, because Sprint advertises having such a fast network. Now, you'll also notice up at the top, my 4G is grayed out because I don't have 4G at my location. When I did get under a 4G umbrella, you can see the screen turn off. I'll talk about that in just a moment too. When you get under a 4G umbrella, the speeds are astoundingly fast. We're talking loading up YouTube videos and playing them almost instantaneously. We're in the FCC app, right around 5 megabit per second down, about 1.5 megabit per second up. The latencies, however, are still high. I don't understand why. They came down a bit, but they were in the mid to high 300s. I think Sprint really has to work on that. But anyway, this is the Teleatlas, the Sprint navigation. Let's go back now. Again, that back button being finicky. It asks us if we want to exit, and yes, we do. It does that so it doesn't eat up battery life. Sprint TV, turn it this way. This could be Sprint's killer app. And you can see I've been using this all morning, and I have drained my battery down. This could be the killer app. Unfortunately, it's not. The reason being, there are several. First and foremost, if you're on Wi-Fi because you don't have a good Sprint signal at home, say you're like me and don't have Wi-Fi at your, or excuse me, don't have 4G at your house, you want to use your house's Wi-Fi, maybe you don't even have 3G or good 3G at your house, you have to turn off Wi-Fi to be able to use this app. Now, I'm sure that's Sprint's way of locking down this app so people don't rip it out and use it on other non-Sprint devices, but it's very disappointing that I can't use my high-speed internet to watch my very bandwidth-intensive shows. Let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to look at all channels. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is there's not an awful lot of channels here. I mean, there are several, but there's not a ton. We just scrolled through the list, what, twice? That's all you've got. Let's go ahead and look at, well, first of all, there's free stuff and there's not free stuff. The not free stuff comes just like cable TV, where you can go through and buy a package. In this case, for $10 a month, plus taxes, you can get all of these channels, which is a pretty good deal. This could let you turn off your cable TV, your satellite TV or whatnot, and stream it all to your phone. Now, where that is really advantageous is with this phone, you can actually hook it up to your TV and watch it on your big screen TV. That becomes a problem, and I'll show you here. Let's go into the Disney Channel. This is what my 9-year-old daughter found right away, and she loved it because she had Hannah Montana. Now, in here we've got Hannah Montana full episodes. Well, that's to differentiate them from the not full episodes, which are just clips. And the clips are a pain in the neck. You get involved and you think, this is the show I want to watch, but it's just a 2-minute clip of the show, so it's kind of painful. They've separated that by annotating full episodes. I really wish you had a top-level navigation or a setting that said, look, I don't want to see clips, I just want full episodes. But that's just a feature request that I like. Let's go ahead and open up this. If we can tap on that, we'll open up this episode. And I'm just going to show you a little bit. You'll notice it's taking a little while to load, again, because I'm on 3G. On 4G, this is a lot faster. Now, my viewable screen area is from that corner to that corner, but the TV is only that big to that big. So there's a lot of space missing. You'll also see here that this is the actual resolution of the video that's playing, and I'm getting distracted by the video that's playing here, so we're going to go ahead and zoom back out again, and then we'll navigate away from Hannah Montana. But it's nowhere near high def. If you plug this into your big screen TV, you're not going to be happy with the quality, especially with it being over a slower 3G connection. So Sprint needs to up that. Again, this could be the killer app, but it's not. This isn't organized all that well. It does let you, it kind of learns your favorites, and it puts those all together so that you can go back and watch them after you found what you want several times. You know, you can go back in there and see what you're looking for quickly. So that's kind of cool. And that's in the recommended section up there. Again, this back button's acting up. There's some other stuff, radios, favorites, and more, but that's pretty much the app. So, all in all, the apps on the phone aren't bad. They're not great. If you're buying this phone just for the apps, go ahead and pass. GetTV.com from the market, which is free. It gives you nearly the same offerings as Sprint TV, not quite. And it doesn't give you the premium channels like Sprint TV does, but if you want to get free stuff, there you go. TV.com, in full disclosure, does also have the problem with showing clips rather than full episodes, so that's still a frustration, and that recommendation goes out to them too. I mentioned I was going to tell you about battery, and that's the last thing that we're going to cover. If we come in here and look at settings, and we'll rotate the screen really quick, the display has some interesting things set up for it, and let me get down to it. Brightness is automatic, so there is an ambient light sensor that adjusts the brightness of the screen, and it does this perfectly. It's amazing. I've not noticed a problem like I do with the Nexus One, where you can actually see the screen getting brighter or getting dimmer. It's always nice, bright, and visible, indoors, outdoors, anywhere you want. It's gorgeous. You'll also notice they changed the Android stock user interface here for this nice blue, which is nice. It looks good. The fonts are a bit bigger. I don't think they needed to do that, but they've set themselves apart from everybody else. Down here is the power saving mode. This is checked by default, and it gives you the option to save power by having the OS basically analyze what's being displayed on the screen and adjust the LCD brightness, not just for the ambient light, but for what's being displayed on the screen. They're really concerned about power saving on this phone, and with good reason. This display is very large, it's very bright, and it chews up a lot of battery life. Sorry, I had to cough off camera there for a minute. But what you see is I've gone ahead and dug into the About This Phone battery status, and just as we'd expect, the display took up 74% of everything since we have unplugged the phone. Sprint navigation, the short amount of time that we had it open, chewed up an enormous 13%, whereas the Android system, cell phone standby, the live wallpaper, Bluetooth, Android Core apps took up just hardly any in comparison to that display. So they're doing everything they can with the display to keep the battery life reasonable. In fact, the timeout for the screen is 30 seconds by default, and of course I had to change that to shoot this video, otherwise I'd be constantly turning it on and off and on and off. So they've done a lot to change it so that you can have a more battery life. So let's talk about real-world battery life. In the mornings, I get up, I read my email, I read my feeder feeds, I eat breakfast, I do some other reading in Nook or in Kindle. I get in my car, I listen to a couple podcasts on my way to work. At work, I'm back to emails, answering several phone calls, and doing that, you know, surfing a few web pages, watching a few YouTube videos, work-related of course. When I do that, it's not bad. In fact, I did that and showing it off to my friends yesterday. I ran to about 2 o'clock, so that's not bad. 7 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon before I needed a charge was actually pretty good. I had to plug it in at that point. Now, if I hadn't been showing off to all my friends, it would have lasted me through the whole day, and I could have plugged in on the commute on the way home. Your mileage may vary, of course, and I've just got to put this out up front. The first 2-3 days that you have this phone, you're going to think that this has the worst battery in the world. Even though it's a 1500 milliamp battery, you're going to think it's terrible. Be patient. The reason you're going to think it's terrible is because you're going to be installing lots of apps, populating a lot of data. You're going to be using the heck out of this phone, and it's going to be very data and screen intense. It's not your normal average use. So wait till the novelty wears off and then start judging the battery, and I think you'll be relatively pleased. I'd still recommend a midday charge or charging on the commute to and from work. But other than that, it's great. Watching TV, even watching that Sprint TV, my daughter was able to do it on the couch for a good 2-3 hours before we got a low battery notification. So all in all, the phone's really great. If you don't like the TouchWiz UI, you can actually install another home launcher, and that will give you this chooser here. So you can go back to the stock Android 2.1 home screen, which is kind of nice. I like Launcher Pro, and I put that on here just to test it out and make it look like mine. You can see I've gone into battery SOS mode, where it's dimmed a whole bunch of stuff, turned off 4G, so it's trying to save as much battery, give me as much extra life as I can. If you don't like TouchWiz, this is the way to get rid of it. You will still have the new notification drop down that gives you quick access to turn on and off your radios, which is really nice. But again, in summary, it's a good phone. The software that comes on it is, you know, it's Sprint stuff, so just kind of live with it or don't use it or replace it with whatever you want. Don't buy the phone because of the software. Buy the phone because it's gorgeous, because it's fast, because it's got a cool slide-out keyboard, because it's got this neat slide-to-unlock thing, and that I do like. Buy the phone because you're a Sprint user and you want a really fast, really nice Android phone, because this is it. It's amazing. For software, I'm going to divide my software review into 2 parts. The first part is the Sprint apps. Sorry, Sprint, you're only getting 1 out of 5 for reasons that we mentioned. For the Android stuff and the Samsung stuff, 4 out of 5. Okay, so there you go. The Sprint Samsung Epic 4G Galaxy S Android phone. Very beautiful hardware, especially that screen and the slide-out keyboard. The software, Samsung stuff, really, really nice. The TouchWiz UI, rather than the stock Android launcher, does its job, does it well. I still kind of lean towards the stock Android launcher type apps. But TouchWiz UI is a nice fluid feel, especially with some of those Samsung widgets that you can put on your home screens. The Sprint apps, not so much. If you're looking at this phone and saying, I want to get an Android phone because of the Sprint apps that come on it, don't do that just for the apps. They've got a lot of room to grow. In fact, one thing I didn't tell you about was a couple of those Sprint apps that I showed you don't even run on Sprint 4G. You have to drop down to Sprint 3G to be able to use them, and of course they don't work over your Wi-Fi network or the local Wi-Fi at Starbucks or McDonald's or wherever you may be. So, if you like this kind of super detailed video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel and you want to keep up to date with all kinds of upcoming phones and future videos regarding the Galaxy S series phones, you've got to subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. We do have a full write-up of all the technical specifications, along with links to this and other videos over at PocketNow.com. And for PocketNow.com, I'm Joe Levi.